How was your Pesach? Anyone has anything to share?
Thank God, very good.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Yeah. Whoa, you make me feel so good.
Doesn't mean I enjoyed the Seders. It's just
Oh, okay. Come
the
on.
overall
on,
Pesach was good.
No. You said it was good. Where this is
Overall Pesach was good.
She got you. She got you, y'all.
No,
That's it. You
overall it
said
was good. I don't
I'm
enjoy
so
the
happy.
Seders in general.
Was the Seder any better than in the previous years?
No,
Teensy tiny drop better?
no, not really. I don't find any meaning in it. I don't know why. I really don't. I'm just tired.
You have to like re-listen to my class like 3 times before while you're
Yeah.
cooking and peeling, and just got to keep. The truth is, for me, I was actually grateful there were 2 Siddurim. Not that I'm Israeli that I ever think of differently, but because I really felt it this year, because I was like, some things I like sort of didn't do right the first night. I got to do the second night, and maybe some things I didn't do as well the second night. I did right the first night. I felt if I put the 2 together, it was decent. So I thought, oh, I'm glad we have 2. So first night I was more tired. Second night I was less tired. You know, it all worked. Anyone else? Anyone else had a slightly or more than that more meaningful Pesach?
Yes, I found that the Mitzrayim I was trying to leave, I felt that she was testing me more with it for sure.
I actually
was
felt
very obvious.
similarly. I actually felt the exact same thing. Specifically, one of them, I had picked like 4, you know, silly me, thinking I could get out of 4. But I think the one that was most important, it kept coming up again and again and again and again and again and again. I thought maybe that was Hashem's help to keep reminding me that I hadn't left yet. That's why I said, oh, after all this, I think I'm left. All right, got still a lot of work to do. Anyone else? Anyone else had anything more meaningful? During the Seder or during Pesach at any point? We'll take anything. Yael said she had a better Pesach. She had a good Pesach. I took that. I was very happy. Anyone else? All right. So guess what? We're in Sfiras HaOmer. All right. Life never ends. We move, or we start Sfiras HaOmer second night of Pesach, and we keep going with it. So Sfiras HaOmer, of course, as we all know, and as every year we probably talk about from a slightly different angle, is about refining ourselves. We're just reminiscing on our Seder and how awesome it was and how we all loved it and how it was so spiritual and meaningful. Well, the Jews at that moment, us, because we're a reincarnation of that generation, so we were like quite low. As our sages say, the 49th level of impurity, and there are 50 levels, and if we had sunk into level 50, we would never have gotten out, not even with God himself. So we were as low as could be, and miraculously, 49 days later, we're on the 49th level of holiness, and the highest is 50, and that's like almost humanly impossible, though we've reached that as well. So how do we get to 49 below to 49 above? And each level, of course, is this tremendous work by the 49 days of counting. So each day, as you do or don't count, and even if you, as we use the term, lost the bracha, can no longer say the blessing, it's still a wonderful thing to count. Without a blessing, it's still good. It's still commemorating the whole idea of by the Exodus and of getting the Torah and of counting up to Torah and being excited. And when you get to day 49, even if you're saying without a bracha, it's still very exciting. And it's also, of course, connected to in the times of the temple. There's a lot of great stuff going on by the counting. So even if you lost the bracha, it's still nice. And you can do it at supper with your kids so they can also count. It's a wonderful thing to do. The overarching work during this day is we're about finding ourselves. Well, it happened 3,334 years ago. Right. And that's why we know these are the auspicious days for it to happen. And we work on it to happen because it can happen now. Now, based on what Shira said, you might find that you're the most tempted to lose it, or if you're struggling with joy, be upset, or if you're struggling with being relaxed, be tense. I mean, yes, God is deliberate, and very often in those most auspicious days, it's like, you know, Friday afternoons. Yes, they could create a lot of tension between a couple, because the couple's supposed to be so close then. So this could be the time when you're most struggling, but it's also the time where there's the most potential the most potential to really change, to really change. And change is wonderful. And change is the most powerful thing we can do for ourselves and the greatest gift we can give our children, our husbands, and really most importantly, ourselves. So what I wanted to focus on is how to change, some tips on changing, because I mean, I don't know about you, I'm in my 50s and it's sort of hard when I've been doing it wrong for 50 some years to now do it right. It's probably quite ingrained. It's me, it's my knee-jerk reaction to all of my triggers, to the annoyances and stresses of my life, is to not be, that beautiful, shiny halo self. So I want to focus tonight on some tips how to change and how to make the change lasting, not just a fleeting inspiration, but real. And I'm so impressed how many people got on already tonight, because let's face it, I'm still exhausted. So I imagine a number of you also are still exhausted or still putting your houses together or so grateful your kids are in school. And, but you're on. Very, very impressive. Okay. So one idea. So these are all, I'm not focusing on any specific trait because every one of us could have something different we'd like to work on. And of course, the idea in theory is every night to work on something different, or every week at least to work on something different. But for now, you could pick a few things that you would like to focus on for the next 5.5 some weeks. 5.5 weeks till Shavuos. So if what you're focusing on has to do with interpersonal change, and you could not choose something interpersonal, maybe you're focusing on your ego. That's not me. So much interpersonal, it's really you. But there's a lot of interpersonal work that we do, like shifting from annoyance, impatience, judgment, anger. A lot of those have to do with other people. So what sometimes helps when you're working on something like that and you say, hey, this is an auspicious, meaning more potent time to change something about myself that I, if I'm honest, really don't like. I'd like to get rid of something I really don't like. I'd like to replace it with something I do like. But it's hard. So if it's something that has to do with someone else, like I just listed a bunch of things that are not pretty parts of ourselves, but we're dealing with other people in them. If the person is a Jew, sometimes what works is really focusing on how enormously special that other person is. Meaning, if I'm angry at someone, or I'm not angry, I'm annoyed at someone. Think of someone you're annoyed with now. You're not annoyed with anyone? Amazing. Think of someone you most recently were annoyed with. So you're annoyed. They said they would clean the kitchen and they never showed up. Or they showed up after you finished doing it. They were watching something on their phone and fell asleep. So you're annoyed at them. You're annoyed. Or worse, or you're impatient, or you're angry. Or so when I'm thinking about that other person, the person is a Jew, I can diffuse this by really focusing on, wait, that person is really, really special to God. Because every single Jew is. Like, let's pretend it's your husband. Let's pretend it's one of your kids, or your mother, or your mother-in-law, or your neighbor. That person is a piece of God's essence and being. Every single one. Every single Jew. The ones that mess us over, the ones that annoy us, the ones that hurt us. Every single Jew is a piece of God's essence and being. When Mashiach comes, the biggest shift, we think of Mashiach as the time when the candies are growing on the trees, and something like that will happen. The delicacies will be as available as the earth. There'll be the resurrection of the dead. There'll be a lot of amazing, amazing changes to the world. But the biggest change is really when the world recognizes, the deepest change is when the world recognizes that there is no existence but God. That is the deepest, deepest change that's going to happen when we have a complete revelation of Mashiach. There is no existence but God. And when the world experiences that, the entire world will have a shift in its sense of self. I'm talking about non-Jews, I'm talking about animals, plants, grass, stones, plastic. Everything in the world will experience a lessening of self as it truly, truly realizes that there's no self but God. And every single Jew, every single Jew will have this awareness of self as God, as an expression of God's essence and being. Have a little bit of distraction here. No, thank you, Farrell. No. So the Jew I'm getting frustrated with, annoyed with, impatient with, angry at, that Jew is that piece of God's essence and being. And me too. So that person is so special. That person is so valued. So when I'm upset, whatever color and flavor your version of the word upset is, I can deep breathe. Deep breathing helps. And I can change. I can shift from this negative trait because I'm also a piece of God's essence and being. I'm very, very, very powerful. What I'd like to ask you, and I'm going to ask you while I gently try to convince Dover to go somewhere else, but what I'd like you to think about is, have you ever changed in this area, in this interpersonal area? Again and again, it could be impatience, it could be annoyance, it could be judgment, it could be anger, it could be feeling of lack of self-worth. There's lots of colors and flavors to something negative in interpersonal relationships. But have you ever changed in this way, in a change that lasted? And what I'd like you to do is think about it, and you can raise your virtual hand. And if you'd like, share. If not, we just will take a virtual hand. And while you think about that, I'm going to ask Beryl to say good night.
No, good night.
Should I say good night?
No,
Should I say bye to everyone?
Yeah, bye.
Okay. I thought I was going to see all these virtual hands, and maybe that was a hard question. One more time. If someone has improved in their impatience toward other people or toward someone specific, in their anger, in any negative jealousy, anything interpersonally that you've worked on yourself and you've changed. You used to be more petty. You're not a saint yet, but you're better. I got a hand. Anyone else that can say, yes, I've improved. I've improved.
And haven't we all? We've all grown
And then I
up.
would like to see everybody's hands raised. If you've improved in a way that's still that exists, because sometimes we get inspired and then we lose it. Well, that's pretty good. We got over 50% of the people raising their hand or giving us a good self thumbs up. That's good. Would anyone like to share from the people that raise their hands how? What did they do that worked?
For me, life just got busier and crazier. So the things that I used to care about, I didn't have time for anymore.
That is
Just life
actually,
happening.
that makes a lot of sense. So what she was saying is maybe things that used to annoy her, she doesn't even notice because she's got bigger things on her plate. Or she puts them in perspective and like, if I'm dealing with this, what in the world is this that I should even notice it to get upset by it?
I can for sure relate to what Shira just said. Absolutely. It's like, I can't believe that stuff bothered me before. Like, who cares? But also, I think a big part for me is like just changing my perspective of how I just look at things.
Can you share more? What do you mean you change your perspective and how you looked at things? You
Like-
changed your values? What was important?
No, just like how you like cup is half empty, half full type of, you know, just the way you look at things. Like instead of looking for the bad, trying to find the good in things and focusing on that, as opposed to like what's lacking and what's not there or what's not working or what's not good.
That's great work. That's great work because life dishes us out both. So
It
that's
does.
that's great work to I sometimes try to do that if I'm going through something. I say I'm challenging myself to find the blessing or the good within this issue. Within the
Right.
issue right now on the table, I want to challenge myself and maybe the good is it used to be worse and it got better.
Yeah,
You know, that's all that's good.
sure. It's
But-
progress.
But I want to challenge myself to see the good in those areas that are areas that need to get even better.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this actually a lot over Pesach. Don't ask me why. One very beautiful thing. For Pesach, I was by my son in Springfield. He has a Chabad house. And every day of Chol Hamoed, there were minyanim, primarily comprised of my family members. And probably because it was primarily my family members, I was motivated to go. It was nice, or you could say I was motivated to get out of the house, to go to the shul. So davening was very special. And I was focusing a lot, I don't know why, in the words in Moedim, where we say that every day Hashem gives us miracles, wonders, and goodness. And for some reason that really deeply resonated. And I kept thinking about that, and this isn't me. I have a tendency to sometimes exaggerate, but prayers don't. So if the sages say, and it's part of our prayers, that every day God gives us miracles and does for us wonders and goodness, he really does every single day, which means that's what's our life like. Because, you know, God's not cheap. It's not like, well, I gave you a miracle there, so I can't do it here. So it's all part of his miracles, wonders, and goodness. The stuff that I could see as such with the right eye set, the stuff that I see as such without even doing a lot of work, and the stuff that I really can't process as such, but it's all God. It's part of his miracles and wonders and goodness. It helps. Anyone else? How did they change?
So someone sent me a very nasty text, and instead of me responding with negativity, I completely switched it around and I said, I hope you're doing well and I hope you're all okay. And that was it. And it could have been World War III with this text, but nope, I wasn't going to let that happen.
So what do you think happened that made you able to do that?
I just didn't even want to start with it. This person didn't even know the background of what this person was saying. So I was just like, you know what, maybe this person does not know the whole picture. So I know if I had explained it, it still wouldn't have been okay. So I switched it around and I didn't ignore it, but like, I just didn't want to start with it.
So
But
you
I just
didn't want to
don't-
open it up, and you also, it sounds like you judged the other
Exactly.
person favorably.
That's right.
You
So
gave them the benefit of the doubt that they might not really know what they're talking about.
they didn't. So I just let it go and they never, and it kind
You
of just
diffused World War III. We got to share this with
Yes.
some other people in this globe. That's amazing.
Yes, but now, Miriam, are you going to be more wary of that person and not engage them in future conversations?
No, yeah, you don't know them. It's okay.
No.
It doesn't
Oh.
sound that
You
Mary
outed
hates
me,
them.
Miriam. Oh, no. No, I'm just saying, like, now that you know this person sent you a nasty text based on something that they don't know about, like, doesn't that make you more weary to, like, not engage with them? Or
No, because I know this person and that's their personality and I'm not
Okay.
going to let it affect me anymore.
Got
Oh,
it.
that's
Okay.
beautiful. So it's not
That is.
only that you wanted to diffuse World War III, it's not only that you judged them favorably, you also said, I'm protecting myself and I can handle it and not let it affect me. I'm just not letting it affect me. I know this is her and I'm not letting it get to me. So that's a big shift, to not get hurt by someone else, not get triggered by someone else, which takes a lot of inner work, or sometimes like Dorit is saying, looking at the positive end, or like she was saying, just not letting it bother you. I was thinking for myself, two things that I can remember at the moment, the second, that I did change in, and in two different ways. One of them was, I don't mind sharing, it's not so embarrassing to talk about our flaws, right? Is patience. I think by nature, I mean, very impatient person. That's a beautiful quality for a mother and teacher, right? And I really worked on it. I don't know if I'm a paragon of virtue, but I've definitely improved. And I changed by acting as if, which I'm going to discuss later, but I'm sharing it already now because I found it very powerful. When you act as if you're patient enough times, you actually get patient, or more. So that really, really helped me. And I am going to discuss that idea of acting as if, because I think it's just in general a great way to change a character trait. And just occurred to me now, something else that I really shifted with, I would call it just a general quality of Avos Yisrael. I can't think of a better term for it, just loving other people. And I wasn't actually even trying to change, but it sort of happened when I tried to proactively be there for other people and try to reach out to other people. And as I was working on I was thinking about my emotional state. I was just on a practical basis working and focusing on helping other people. What I found happened is this like deep reservoir of love opened up. And I think that's sort of a similar idea of when you, so to speak, walk the walk, when you really push yourself to be there for someone else, the inner feeling is engendered. So those were two things that really helped me, and I'm freely sharing them. I notice I'm not sharing all the stuff I haven't changed yet. I'm just sharing what I have to, if either of those techniques work for people. But I think everything that was said so far really is very practical. We're talking about real life people that really changed, and they've shared how, and any of them are up for grabs, that people can really, in these 49 days of which we have, over 35 left to work on. Something else that I think is good to think about when you want to change, and again, to want to change, you first have to like figure out something inside of you that you don't like, something inside of you that's not so pretty and nice, and not that you want everyone to know about, and then really believe you can change and you're going to change. I think something that helps is honestly understanding that sometimes these negative qualities are, I'm going to use the word addictive. I can't think of another word. They're really addictive to us. Not that everyone that has these qualities is an addict, but you might be. Meaning anger could be something people have almost an addictive relationship to. Irritation, outrage, blaming people, shaming people. And some people just do this occasionally, and some people it's like it's really ingrained in them. It might be really ingrained in you. So how can you figure out if it is? So the first thing that would really express that it's really almost like an addiction is if before you express this negative emotion, you start feeling it in your body. You have a tension in your body, a discomfort in your body. There's something going on as like a bodily response that's part of what's leading up to this emotion. And when you have that feeling in your body, you start interpreting the feeling. And the interpretation is basically something along the lines of things are not going my way. Things are not going the way I want. Things are not going the way I'm scripting it. And therefore, this emotion is now building inside of you. And then the third step, after your physical response, and you're interpreting your physical as response the way you did, is you start telling some story to yourself. And the story is generally bashing whatever person is involved. Like, I've never seen such incompetence. How could they do that? Don't they realize? Did they do it on purpose? Are they just completely ignorant? You start building up a lot of stories in your mind, a lot of, as I think of it, castles from sand, like a lot of stuff from nothing. And you build and you build and you build, and then you have complete permission to let this negative emotion explode. That might sound like very elaborate and doesn't really happen, but sometimes if you think of how you react, maybe like with an annoying child, you might actually see this process. So it really could be going on. And it's good to identify it as such, because when we can identify it that way, we can reject it. We can say, no, I'm committed to acting as if. I'm committed to, whatever it is. Again, I'm not filling in too many details because I feel every one of us could have something else that's going to be their focal point. But whatever it is, in place, because wait, just 1 second, because I don't want to be an addict. I don't want to be addicted to anger or something else. Just 1 second. Yeah, girl.
Mommy,
Yes.
mommy, look. Mommy, look. Yeah. Dada, at Kenya.
I know. Go down and enjoy them.
Yeah. Bye. Bye. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night. All right. We'll see if this lasts.
Good night.
Be well, Beryl.
Good night.
Okay. So putting it a little differently, there is a very great need when we want to change something to be aware of the sickness, to believe in the cure. Meaning some of us don't think we're doing anything wrong. Most of us know that we're doing something wrong, but we don't think we could ever be different. We can't really fathom that something so you could ever completely leave you and completely change. But we have to believe that. To change, you have to believe I can completely heal, and use the word heal, because anything we want to change is something that's a sickness. That's an addiction. That's an ugliness. What, but I'm such a beautiful, wonderful person. True. And all of us are beautiful, wonderful people with those little flecks that we want to get rid of, and that we can. There's also a principle that we're going to talk about more, but just to bring it in here, this is from Sefer HaChinuch. He writes, after our actions come our inner reality. After our actions come our inner reality. So I want to change this inner reality. If I recognize there's a problem, a real problem, a problem worth working on, if I believe I can change, and if I do the actions that are different, my inner reality really will change. So on one hand, I want us to feel how ugly, distasteful, not what I want to be that is, and really believe I'm not going to be like that anymore. I'm not going to be like that anymore. I'm completely changing. Just as many people here said how they did change, I'm completely changing. So any other tips that anyone can share to cure ourselves of our addictive, negative character traits? People said a lot of good things tonight. Anything else that people have seen that have helped them? I'm sure people have ideas. Maybe something's coming to you at the moment. If something comes, feel free to share, feel free to chat. Don't wait for me to ask again. We all want to improve. Another idea that I think sometimes helps when we're trying to change ourselves is to recognize that whatever negative character trait you're thinking about, it creates stress. And stress is harmful to you. Meaning, if you find yourself getting annoyed at your children, or annoyed at the mess, or annoyed at your husband, or impatient with your children or the mess or your husband, or angry at your children or angry at your husband, or feeling jealous, or all of this is self-harm. All of this is adding to my inner stress, to my inner tension. It's harmful to me emotionally. It's harmful to me physically. So I don't want to let it happen because I care too much about myself. And sometimes, again, whatever you're trying to change, when you see you're getting triggered, breathe deeply. I don't think anyone mentioned breathing. I think it really helps. Breathe deeply, and do whatever strategy you chose. A lot of people share different strategies. I shared some and other people shared things that work for them. Do whatever you're choosing and prioritize your own inner health, your emotional health, and your physical health over indulging in this addiction of frustration, of anger, giving yourself a gift. It's a gift for your children. It's a gift for your husband. It's a gift for all the people in your world. But the biggest gift is really, it's a gift for you. Like when I go back to what Miriam said, and it was so beautiful. Sorry, Miriam, to point at you when you were talking. And like, I could have let this become World War III. I could have gotten really effective, could have gotten really upset, and I chose not to. I didn't want to engage in World War III. I didn't want to let this affect me, so I didn't. Those are such liberating words. I don't want to let this affect me. I don't want to let this hurt me. I don't want to let this get to me, so it's not going to. It's not worth it. Yes, I could get upset at so-and-so, and they're being so rude, and they're being so impulsive, and they're being so thoughtless, but what do I gain by that? That I'm upset, that I'm hurt, that I'm hurting myself and feeling bad. I think of sometimes, you know, you could get into a fight with your husband and spend the next 24 hours upset, or you could diffuse the fight so it never happens. And for the next 24 hours, you're not hurting yourself by being upset.
Ms. Turner, I thought of something that helps. If someone is doing something that's really annoying me, what helps is if I tell myself, like, if Hashem is showing this to me, then it's probably something I have to work on. If it's bothering me, like, I should look at myself and see how, like, you know, how I'm playing it out in my life.
That's great. And what's great is she's saying she's remembering, because that's a wonderful thought. But sometimes we know the thought, but we forget to think it in those moments. So if Hashem is showing me this, there's a reason why he's showing me it. And maybe he's showing it for me so I could look at myself and see if I have those issues. So I'm not upset at the other person. They're just Hashem's shliach, Hashem's emissary, God's messenger to help me work on myself. That's beautiful. It's beautiful you remember to think of that in those moments, because those are like triggering moments. So in triggering moments, it's so easy to let ourselves get triggered. And we have to say, no, I'm not just going to be reactive. I'm going to take control. And really what I'm saying here is take control in a way of helping myself, of protecting myself, of caring about myself. And therefore doing those things that are more healthy and happier for me. Has anyone here seen this, what I'm talking about? This connection between stress, inner upsetness, and how it harms you, how you're the one that's hurt. Anyone ever seen that in themselves as they let themselves get stressed and tense and nervous and annoyed? And then they see how it hurts them emotionally, it hurts them physically, it hurts them mentally.
100%.
I
Yeah.
got 100% and 3 hands, plus my own. So I'm choosing to believe maybe other people don't know where the reaction button is, because it is 100%. Ah, someone else saw the reaction button. Great. It's 100%. And it's really important to think about that, because sometimes it's hard to be so saintly, right? Sometimes it's hard to work on myself and to work on myself. And sometimes people sort of have this feeling of like, why am I always the one working on myself? You know, why am I always the one, you know, improving and working and like, you know, well, maybe some other people around here. So it's really important to understand that even if I want to just be very selfish, I don't want to hurt myself. When we let that World War III happen, or even something much more mild, I'm the one absorbing the stress. It's like I'm the one walking around feeling bad. I'm the one bashing myself. I'm the one in pain. I'm the one just even annoyed. If you're annoyed at someone for not doing what they said they were going to do, okay? Probably happens in a lot of our lives. So I could walk around for the next 3 hours being annoyed. Now, who's hurting by that? Me. I'm the one hurt. I'm the one with all this negative energy circling through my brain, circling through my system. And I'm the one with all this tension that's eating away at all the healthy parts inside of me. So if we really, really absorb that message, it's easier to motivate ourselves to work hard, because it's hard to change. Even though a lot of great ideas were brought, just like what Shira said was a great idea. And if it resonates, use it. Or even try it. It might work better than you think. It's a great idea. But sometimes like, I have to be so holy. I have to be so good. I always have to work on myself so much. Because that helps me. It helps me be the most centered, stable, healthy, happy me. And I think it's really worth like absorbing that idea, because as we work, we want to feel like, not like the schmata, the one that's always doing the work, but like, I'm so lucky that I can do this work. I'm so grateful I can do this work. I feel so much healthier that I can do this work. I feel so much more centered inside, so much more balanced, that I don't let every little thing bother me. And I don't get so upset when someone is rude to me. There are rude people in the world. So catty. There are catty people in the world. So self-centered. There's self-centered people in the world. All of the above are true. But why should I go around being hurt by that? Just like Miriam said, it's a choice. Why would I want to make that choice? Along with all this, of course, as you're working on self-change and growth, if at all possible, change the environment to remove the triggers, to remove the temptations. If you were trying to lose weight, it's not ideal to have a house full of garbage, of junk food. Now you could say, well, you know it, but practically it's a lot easier if you only have healthy things. So even if you want to indulge, there's nothing to do it on but like carrots and apples. So it's the same thing with all of these ideas as well. If you want to have control of yourself and you don't want to indulge, especially in things that are very natural to you, because you've been doing it for 20 years or 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. So you'd want to remove those temptations that lead you to unhappy places, that put you in unwanted emotions and behaviors like ego and anger and impatience. And, you know, if you have a hard time with slow traffic, don't schedule your doctor's appointments when you know everyone's going to be on the road. If there are toxic people in your environment, people that indulge in their own addictions of anger and sarcasm and belittlement and all those traits, try to change that they're not there. Now, of course, sometimes you can't do that, but sometimes you can. Sometimes you can. And if you can, it's worth doing it. If a person works in an office full of very toxic people, is that valid reason to change jobs? I think so. If you have an ability to take control, take control. If you cannot, then you have to build walls. Build really strong walls. Think of Miriam. I don't have to let that get to me. I'm not letting it get to me. I don't need to be pulled into it. Build very, very, very strong walls so that energy doesn't penetrate and pull you down. And I think it's important to know that this is possible, to believe and trust that this is possible, because a lot of times people are stuck in an environment and they feel there's nothing I can do about it. So they don't try hard enough to do something about it. There's no way I can create change. Try. If you can identify things that really would make it a lot easier for you, then try. And then trust God that he's going to help and open windows where before you only had walls. Has anyone here successfully done this? Changed something in their environment? Maybe not changed everything, but changed something to remove some of those triggers? Has anyone been
Maybe.
able to do this? Maybe. Okay,
Maybe.
that's good.
There was someone who was toxic to me, so I just took a big step back, and now I have less contact and more contact, and it's much better.
That's exactly what I
that-
mean. That's not a maybe, that's a yes.
Okay.
That's a definite yes. If you see someone toxic and you made a change, so they're no longer so much within your world.
Correct.
They're little, but they're a lot less, and therefore the negative energy is a lot less, and therefore you're triggered a lot less to fall into your own negative patterns. Anyone else? Anyone else has had such a success story? Well, how did you feel when that happened, Yael? When this person was less in your world because of the changes you made?
Better. Like better. There's less boundaries were set up. There were more boundaries. It was better. There was too much of that person in my life. I took a step back and it's much better.
Perfect. Anyone else? Anyone else can say, could be a person or could be something else that they were able to change their environment in a way that removes some of the things that trigger them?
Hi, I have something.
Sure.
I mean, it's little, but like
That's
sometimes
okay. Every little thing is good.
sometimes I just take too much upon myself, and then I cause myself anxiety for no reason. So I took a step back with like a lot of things, and I just like, there's a time and a place for everything, and I don't have to do it all at once. And that made me just much more relaxed.
And so that was the change. The change is that you're more relaxed because you're still Miss Superwoman, but not, the ultimate.
I don't know about that.
Try. We have a tendency, every one of us, I think over Pesach, every Jewish woman has to be the Superwoman, but Pesach's over. So that's a great example. That's beautiful. That was a trigger. It's a trigger for stress. It's a trigger for tension. It's a trigger for worry, pressure. And how do you change the environment? By saying, I don't have to do it all, or at least I don't have to do it all today. And then I can be more relaxed. Maybe I get other people to help. I, had a company coming today, and my house was a disaster. And I'm like thinking, how in the world am I going to do this? And I said, you know what? I have a lot of kids at home now. That's part of the reason it's a disaster. And I said, give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. Give me 10 minutes. Of course, 10 minutes didn't, do the magic, but at least it started everyone off. And then, yes, you can make a change, and then you're more relaxed. I'm just thinking now, also, these things are also, I think if someone was speaking to over Pesach, she said she always, or often, she goes to her in-laws for Pesach, and she can't stand it. And there's always a lot of negative energy. And as such, she sort of always wonders about herself and her husband. Maybe we're to blame. Maybe we're just the type of people that when we're with other people, they just, we're just such a natural target, and therefore there's such bad things going on. And guess what? This Pesach, I was speaking to her, she said she had a wonderful experience. She actually would have liked to stay longer. what happened? Well, two of the couples, like others, in-law, sister-in-laws, they weren't there this year, and it made all the difference. So it's not that she removed them, they, I guess, removed themselves. But what I thought was really important was her takeaway, and her takeaway was, it's not us. Because when those two couples weren't there, there were still two other couples there, but it was wonderful. So it really helped her see it wasn't our fault. And that's a really beautiful thing to see, that sometimes that when there's something removed from your environment, it can be very good. And sometimes it is you, and whatever's removed doesn't help because you're with you wherever you go. But sometimes it really is some negative energy that when that's removed, things really go well, even in places that you don't think they're possible.
It's true. I sometimes, if you can, you need to remove yourself from your environment. Like, something was bothering me 2 weeks prior to Pesach, and my lower back, and it's going to sound nuts, but my lower back was really hurting. I was like, oh my gosh, do I need to get an MRI? I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe I pulled something. For 2 weeks, it was hurting to get up, to sit down, whatever. And we went to my parents for Pesach. And like 2 days after we got there, I was like, gee, I haven't felt this pain. I think it was just all the stress. It's crazy what stress could do.
I remember, and this goes back many years, probably 20 some years ago, my brother-in-law got married in Israel, and I had, to get a family ready for Hasana, to get a family to Israel for a week, to figure out who was going to be running all the things I do here in my absence, and to make a Shabbat brachos that I was coming back on a Friday and I was hosting a Shabbat brachos on Sunday. I had to cook everything in advance, and my back completely went out. And I went to the chiropractor. I never go to doctors. I do not believe in going to doctors, but I sort of had no choice. I went to the chiropractor, and he said I was like, it was too messed up for him to do anything. So it was a real physical issue, because he said, I can't help you. It's not like you pulled the rubber band. It's like it snapped. He said, but as soon as you get to Israel, you'll be fine. And I remember thinking, he's crazy. I'm going to be sitting on a plane for all those hours with this back, and I'm going to get to the Holy Land, and suddenly all the pain will go away. And it actually did. Like, I got on the plane, and as soon as I was on the plane, it just like a few hours into the plane, it all left. It wasn't in my head, it was in my body, but it all left. So yes, that inner stress, that inner tension, that's self-harm. And sometimes, yes, we have to remove some of the stresses, and sometimes we have to remove ourselves from the environment that's creating that stress, because it's that impactful.
I had an experience also when I was I work in different nursing homes. It was probably like 10, 11 years ago. And there was one of the coworkers, one of the PT, she was Polish. I was friendly with her, and then she just started being so rude. And I thought it was just me, and it really, really bothered me. And I asked the supervisor, can you talk to her? And she was like, I can't make her, be nice. Like, she didn't really do anything. And I finally just said, I can't work here anymore. I'm done. I can't stand working with this person. I feel depressed, and I don't like that someone doesn't like me. And I left. And then I found out later, like, we're all a company, like, we're all therapists for the same nursing homes, different nursing homes, but under the same name, whatever, that everyone said, oh my gosh, you worked with so-and-so. She's awful. No one liked her. Everyone had a problem with her. And I said, I thought it was just me.
It was me.
No, totally not. She has a lot of problems. She's so rude. That's why she's in such and such place now. She's working in that place. And then I saw her in a different facility, and she was so nice and friendly. And she was like, oh my gosh, so nice to see you. She's giving me a hug. Let me see the pictures of all of your kids. Come talk to me. And I was just like, I didn't really know what to say. And I said, oh, okay, I'm busy now, maybe at lunchtime. And then I just like didn't bother going over to her, but I was just shocked. But anyway,
I think what you're saying is such an amazing story, because unfortunately so many times people I don't even know what the word for it is. I don't know if they don't have the bravery to just say, I'm leaving. the hours are good, the location is good, the money is good, but I can't handle this toxic energy in my life.
Yeah.
And that's exactly, someone's telling me this, actually, this is like a miracle story. I'll share. She told me this yesterday. She also was in a job that she really didn't like. She didn't explain to me why, so I don't know why, but a job she really, really didn't like. And she kept trying to find a new job and she couldn't find one. And she wasn't going to leave because, I mean, she needs the money. Her money pays the bills, so she couldn't leave her job, but she couldn't stand her job. She couldn't stand her job, and she kept looking for another job, and she just couldn't find a job like she was looking for. Anyway, it was Pesach, and she was like, I'm leaving Egypt. She said, that's it. I'm leaving Egypt. I'm quitting, and I'm trusting God that something will come up. And she did that. And she just she said, I'm emailing them over Pesach, over Passover. So that's it. Nothing to talk about. I'm done. So that's, she sent them a letter. First, she said she wants to just write a letter like, I have to get out of Egypt, so I'm quitting. But she said I should be a little nicer than that. But she wrote a letter, and that's it. Terminated herself. And now she didn't have a job. But she was like, I don't care. I'm trusting God. I'm getting out of Egypt. And this was like Monday of Chol Hamoed. I think by Wednesday of Chol Hamoed, some random company contacts her. They said they got her resume. She had no clue how in the world they got her resume. Turned out it was like someone who sent it to someone who sent it to someone, like one of those stories. And she got a job with them. And she just felt like, wow, like liberated, like I couldn't stand it. And I left and I trusted God and he came through. And she has another job. And this has just happened last week. So I think it's really brave sometimes when you're in an environment like that, because if the money's paying the bills, it's hard to say I'm walking away because of toxic people, but it's worth it to walk away because of toxic people. The fact that she loved you when she met you next time, I don't know. That's very interesting, but we should all have that. We should all have that courage. It's courage. We should have that courage, and we should have that self-respect. The courage and the self-respect and the dignity to say, I don't have to take this.
Hey, Ms. Turn, one more thing I thought about that really, really helps. I just remember on the way back on the plane, my 2-year-old hit the flight attendant, kind of like tapped her. And you think, okay, a cute little kid, normal person would smile. She gave this look like a witch. I thought she was going to kill him. And he actually did it again. And I was kind of happy he did it again, which is my flaw. But I was like, yeah, hit her. Like, what was she going to do to him? Anyway, what maybe at first, my first thought was like, God, what's wrong with you? Like, you're such a witch. And then I'm like, no, maybe this lady lost a child. Maybe she's trying to have children. Maybe her husband just left her. Like, I had no clue what her situation was. And I'm like, don't judge. And a normal reaction to a 2-year-old is not like that. So she's reacting that way. Something is definitely going on in her head that I would never understand. So that really, that changed my, I didn't get aggravated. I wasn't like, oh my God, what's wrong with this lady? I didn't call, and tell the company on her like I normally would.
I think what you're saying is so amazing. And I think the trick is, what she was saying is, can we also apply it to people that we think we do know? Meaning, so she was looking at this complete stranger who she knows a stranger who's doing something really off. And she's saying, instead of just getting angry at her, she's like, something must be going on in this lady's life, because why in the world would you react that way? So I just have compassion for her because I know she's going through something really hard. Imagine if we could think that about people we know, because we say, no, I know their lives. No, we don't. I know why they react that way. Maybe you do, and maybe you don't. And maybe sometimes okay, they have a little irritation, a little fetch, a little this, but every person absorbs those pains differently. And honestly, we really have no clue. Even people that we know very well.
You taught me something a couple of years ago, and maybe I mentioned in the class, but I remember there was someone who was living really close to me, asked me to take their kids to school every single day. And I'm like, seriously? It's once in a while, no problem, but every single day, I see you in the morning, you don't feel like you're doing anything. And you said to me, you're like, why do you have to know what's going on in their life to say yes? How do you know what, if maybe they're sick? Why would the person have to tell you that, I'm sick or something's wrong with me to help them out? And it just changed my thought of you really never know what's going on in someone's life. And if they're asking for help, there's a reason why they're asking you. And you should try to just say yes, even if it seems like they're taking advantage. And I just remember that, you know, the Carvel situation, it wasn't a big deal for me, but I'm just thinking like seeing her every morning, like, why can't you take your own kid? And like you said, I really had no clue what's going on in her life. I have no clue why she wasn't able to do it.
I remember that whole conversation. It's a big Nisayim. Because if you know someone, oh, never, they're going through this horrible divorce. They're so sick. Their husband just lost their job. They have so much stress. So we're nice people and we have compassion. Of course we want to help. But when someone's asking, it's like, what? Like, you know? And then we don't, not that we want to envision, well, probably this horrible thing is happening to them. But we don't know. And that's great to use that technique here in this case, which is to stop yourself. Of course, that was a different situation where someone was asking you to do this big, seemingly unnecessary favor, but to use that same technique to prevent those annoyances, irritations, impatience, anger. I have no clue. So now can we take that, say, you know, your child was supposed to do something and they like forgot? I have no clue what's going on in their inner world, but the truth is we really don't. We really don't. We really don't. And especially some kids are so sensitive, or some kids are so spacey, or some kids are so, you know, enmeshed in their own world of emotions and interpersonal relations. And the same is true for husbands, same is true for everybody in our world, that even people that we think we really know very well and we really know what's going on in their world, we really don't. We really don't. So that was really useful. All right, we are going to stop at this point. To be continued next week. There were so many great ideas shared tonight. Take one. Maybe you want to take, you can take more than one, but try to take one. I have definitely what I want to take. And I think just for myself personally, that idea of just, especially when like you're upset or annoyed or impatient, and just envisioning how much you're harming yourself by this emotion, and just diffusing it to protect yourself, to me is very powerful. I think what Shira just said now was very powerful. What Dorit said before, what Miriam, what Chavi, Yael, we had like so many great ideas. Take at least one and work on it over the week. To be continued, we'll hopefully have more great tips next week, and we can change. Believe there's an illness, believe in the cure, and then we go for it. Thank you so much, amazing ladies. Half a week after Pesach, you have nothing better to be on a shear instead of like sleeping. Wonderful. Thank you.
you.
Have a wonderful week.
Thank you as always, Jessica.
Thank you.